Hello. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Why the count is so less? Yesterday also, like we have only 10 people. Today we're gonna understand what is test cases, format of test cases, why we have to write test cases, and all. Right? Everything about test cases. Okay. So first of all, what is test case? Anyone? What do you think? What is test case?
लॉगिन बटन काम कर रहा है कि नहीं वो एक टेस्ट केस है।
वो टेस्ट केस है। हाउ लॉगिन बटन काम कर रहा है कि नहीं वो टेस्ट केस है। पूरा मैनुअल टेस्टिंग खत्म हो गया। टेस्ट केस ही नहीं पता है। व्हाट इज टेस्ट केस? इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग में टेस्ट केस किया, सिस्टम टेस्टिंग में टेस्ट केस किया, तब बताया था टेस्ट केस क्या होता है। टेस्ट केस क्या है? सिनेरियो वी नो, ठीक है। We'll check with this, we'll check with that, we'll check with valid data, we'll check with invalid data. These are the scenarios. We'll check with alphanumeric. These are the scenarios. What is a test case? So test case is a step-by-step document which covers all the possible scenarios for a particular or specific requirement. ठीक है। तो टेस्ट केस क्या होता है? स्टेप बाय स्टेप डॉक्यूमेंट होता है। अगर आप लोगों ने लाइक स्लाइड्स देखी होगी, पीपीटी देखी होगी सिस्टम टेस्टिंग की और इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग की, उस पे एक एक एग्जांपल दिया हुआ है एंड असाइनमेंट्स भी किए थे हम लोगों ने सिनेरियोस के। सिनेरियो हाउ टू डॉक्यूमेंट टेस्ट केस फ्रॉम द सिनेरियो। तो वो पर्टिकुलर डॉक्यूमेंट जो होता है जिसपे तो आप लोग एक्शन डिस्क्रिप्शन लिखते हो, एक्सपेक्टेड रिजल्ट लिखते हो और स्टेप बाय स्टेप वे में लिखते हो, वो बेसिकली तुम्हारा टेस्ट केस होता है। ठीक है। सो टेस्ट केस इज अ स्टेप बाय स्टेप डॉक्यूमेंट। व्हाई वी कॉल इट एज स्टेप बाय स्टेप डॉक्यूमेंट? बिकॉज यहाँ पर तुम नेविगेशन स्टेप्स लिखते हो, हाउ टू रीच टू दैट पर्टिकुलर फीचर, like open the browser, enter the URL, and do this action. Click on login button, and for every step you write the expected result. So here you write your scenario in a very descriptive and step by step way. That's why it is called a step by step document, which covers all the possible scenario for a specific requirement. For an example, there is one requirement of login page. So if you are trying to cover multiple scenarios in one test case for the whole particular login requirement, then basically you can call it as a test case. Everyone is clear क्या बोल रहा हूं मैं? What is a test case? Are you guys clear? Yes, no, anything, guys?
यस सर।
So what is a test case? Test case is a step by step documentation. What is the difference between scenario and a test case? Test scenario and test case. Scenario और test case में क्या difference होता है?
सर बोथ आर सेम।
नहीं. In one test case you might cover multiple scenarios. Scenario is high level description of what exactly you are going to test. तुम अगर सिनेरियो बताते हो, ओके, फॉर एन एग्जांपल वी आर ट्राइंग टू टेस्ट योर compose and inbox integration. So if you are trying to tell me the scenario is in this way. I will try to compose a mail and test whether another person received that in inbox or not. This is your scenario one. And then scenario 2, I will compose a mail, do the attachment and try to send the try to check whether the other person is receiving that particular mail with the attachment or not. Scenario number 2. Now similarly there could be one more scenario wherein you are sending a meeting link, and you can cover all three of the scenarios within one test case by composing a single mail with all the three attachment and try to check whether that particular functionality is working or not. Basically all three scenarios which you want to test in a single test case. Okay, however you are covering it, it's your like approach, but you can cover multiple scenarios within one single test case wherein you basically describe everything step by step and try to cover all the possible scenarios whatever you want to in that particular test case. So this is the basic difference between scenario and a test case. Scenario is a high level description or approach, how exactly or what exactly you want to test, and test case is basically a step by step approach wherein you describe everything and you can cover multiple scenario under one test case. Got it?
Yes, sir.
तो सिनेरियो तो वन लाइनर
Yes, sir.
डिस्क्रिप्शन होता है, वन लाइन होती है जो आपका अप्रोच बताता है कि ओके आई यू वांट टू टेस्ट दिस, यू वांट टू टेस्ट दैट, बट स्टेप्स बेसिकली क्या होता है, टेस्ट केस क्या होता है जिसमें पूरा स्टेप इन्वॉल्व हो और आप मल्टीपल सिनेरियोस को क्या कर सकते हो एक पर्टिकुलर टेस्ट केस के अंदर कवर कर सकते हो. नाउ टेस्ट केस फॉर्मेट इज अ बेसिकली नॉट हार्ड कोडेड फॉर्मेट. ये हर पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट में और हर पर्टिकुलर कंपनी में अलग अलग हो सकता है, बट उसका जो कोर कोर पर्टिकुलर कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं, कोर पर्टिकुलर फील्ड्स होती है जो टेस्ट केस लिखते वक्त यूज होती है हर जगह, वो हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. और जो मेजर जो सारी चीजें जो मेंशन करनी होती है अंडर वन टेस्ट केस वो हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है. It has got different sections like step number, description, input, expected result, actual result, and status. So basically all these things are mandatory to have. You have to mention these things. Then other than that, basically ये आप लोगों को पता है ना, step number, description, input, expected, actual result, status and comment. Status and comment नहीं पता होगा, ये हम लोग cover करेंगे when we will start our format, test case format. ठीक है. But these things, these 3-4 things, I think you already know as we have covered under test case creation, under integration testing and system testing. ठीक है. So if you don't know, also then it's not a problem. जब format आएगा तो we'll cover these all. ठीक है. Then why we have to write test case? Why and basically why exactly we have to write test case? So basic idea is that when and why you write test case, whenever the requirement comes, you do the requirement analysis, and second thing you do is to derive scenarios, and third thing you do is to document those scenarios in a format of test case. Why exactly documentation is needed? Why can't we basically go and test it directly? Why we have to document it? So first thing which is like most important in this particular concept is whenever you are not documenting a test case, you are testing your testing like quality will basically vary from person to person. How exactly it will happen? For an example, I have been working in IT for 7 years, 8 years. Okay, I will derive scenarios. I might be able to derive more scenarios, like 50 to 60 scenarios over a one functionality. If other person is also basically trying to derive scenarios on the same functionality and he has got only 2 years of experience, then that particular person might be able to derive lesser number of scenarios. If we don't get it documented and get it reviewed by the senior or the most known of that particular functionality, we can't get the scenarios or we can't get the mistakes which we have done in our test in our scenario deriving. Basically we can't test that, we can't get it reviewed, we can't basically get it overcome. So we first do what, we first derive scenarios and then we document, and then that particular test case document is sent for the review purpose, so that whatever scenarios is missing by me, the author of the test case, can be caught by the reviewer who is reviewing that particular test case. So first reason is that so that our testing basically it will be in sync the person who's doing the testing, or like who's having the 7 years of experience deriving the scenario and doing the testing, he has derived 50 scenarios. And if you are 2 years experience and you are deriving the scenarios and creating a test case, and getting it reviewed by the senior most and the person who is 7 year experience, basically that person will give you review comment having said that these are the scenarios you haven't covered in this particular test case, you have to cover this. And then basically after that what will happen, you will cover that and then do the testing. So the person who is doing the testing, who is having the 7 years of experience, plus the person who is doing the testing having the 2 years of experience, the testing will be consistent, the testing will be same for both. Getting my point? That's why documentation is important. Are we clear? Yes, no, anything, guys?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So this is the first reason. Second reason is that, for an example, we have to do regression testing, right? And regression testing, you have tested that particular module or particular feature long back, 6 months ago. You have tested it. Now you have to do regression testing. If you don't document the scenarios when you were testing it for the very first time, and you have to do regression testing after a long period of time, for say 6 months or 8 months, you might not recall all the scenarios, right? जितने भी तुमने हो सकता है 6 महीने पहले तुमने 80 सिनेरियोज डिराइव किए या फिर 50 सिनेरियोज डिराइव किया, 40 सिनेरियोज ही डिराइव किए, you will not be able to recall all 40 scenarios, and you will not be able to do the testing on all 40 scenarios, right? You might miss some of the scenarios, you might find new scenarios also. That's a different concern. When you sit and try to test again, you will derive the scenarios, right, because you are not able to recall. So basic idea is that your testing will also not be consistent in that case, because over the period of time you will forget. But if we document it by then and there, then we can refer the same document and do the regression testing, right? So testing will be consistent throughout. Okay. So quality of testing will not depend person to person, that we have understood. Why? Because the person who is more experienced or person who is less experienced, if you document test case, get it reviewed, the testing will not vary from person to person. It will definitely going to be consistent. Quality of testing will not depend on the mood of the software. For an example, today I need to test, and today I'm not in a great mood, I'm under the weather and I'm a little bit sick. So what I will do, I will try to test the application with lesser number of scenarios, as I'm not in the mood, and as I am not documenting anything, right? I can't give proof to anyone, and I don't have to give proof to anyone what all number of scenarios I've derived. I just have to say that yeah, testing is done, I have done the testing, right? But if I have written the test case, I can show them that these are the scenarios, okay, which I have covered. And if the test case is documented, other person is executing, even though the mood is not good, anything, right? He has to execute all the test case in order to in order to call that testing is done. Correct. So here also the quality of testing will not vary depending upon the mood of the person, or the memory power, or the basically person to person, depending upon their experience level. Correct. So that's why the documentation of scenarios in terms of test cases is bare minimum to have. Why? Because we don't have to depend upon the person, we have to depend upon the document. As you already know, in exploratory testing also I have explained that if the person leaves the job, right, and he has got the understanding of the feature and the scenarios, so the knowledge of that particular scenario, the knowledge of and understanding of that particular feature will go with that particular person if we don't document it, right? So we don't want to depend upon the person as person leaves, but we want to depend upon the documentation. Correct, because document stays. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So how to overcome these drawbacks? Obviously by documenting the scenarios in terms of test cases. When we have to do, basically this is a very common question, sir, when exactly we write the test case. So first thing is basically you get the requirement, you do the requirement analysis, you raise right set of question to your business analyst and your development team, testing team, or the scrum master, whoever, right? So you ask the questions regarding the requirements. Once you get the better understanding on the requirement, you understood each and everything in and out of that particular application, refer the Figma, refer the requirement, refer the copy deck, everything, what all document you have got as part of your requirement, understood it very thoroughly, understood it very properly, and then try to derive scenario with the business perspective, with the tester's perspective, with the user's perspective. Then once after that, try to segregate. Okay, this we can bunch these many test case under this we can bunch these many test case under uh, this type of testing. And then once after bunching that, you can basically do what, document the test case. That's the process. Once you are done with writing the test case, there is a whole review process happened. Right, what happened? For an example, let's try to practice it right here. Give me a second, guys. So right here, I'll pick up the name Anjali and Apurva. Okay, so basic idea is that I'm your test lead. Okay, so I have told Anjali to write test cases on for an example, amount transfer module, and Apurva is the basically the reviewer of Anjali. So what Anjali will do, Anjali will go through the requirement. Anjali will basically do what, Anjali will try to derive scenarios and then document the test case. Once after that, once she's done with the writing of the scenarios and documenting of the test case, she will do what? She will send a mail to Apurva saying that I'm done with my job. These are the links of the test case. These are the document you can review. And she will CC me in that particular mail. She will CC me in that particular mail. We both, me and Apurva will get a mail, and basically right after that, Apurva will go through the test case. Apurva will review the test case, and once she reviewed, right, she might find some review comments. Okay, these are the missing scenarios. These are the wrong scenarios. These are the repeated scenarios. So she will give the review comments to Anjali again and sends a mail with all the review comments. Right, she will mention everything, and right after that, Anjali will rework on the test case, fix those review comment. Once she fixed, she will send a mail again to Apurva to review it one more time, and then basically both will do CC me while right, sending the review comments, and after fixing, sending the reapproval application basically. So basically, Anjali will do what? Anjali will CC me and send a mail again saying that I have fixed the review comment. Apurva will re-review it. Once Apurva said that yeah, it looks good to me, she will say that it looks good to me, basically over the mail only. Then I will one more time, I will also review the test case on a higher level and give the approval to Anjali. So this is how the test case review process works. This is how we make sure that we have covered all the scenarios on the test case, because some scenarios Anjali might miss, some scenarios Apurva might miss, some scenarios basically these two people might miss. So the lead is responsible to re-review and make sure that everything is covered. And you can execute a test case only if it is approved. You can't execute an unapproved test case, even though if you are using any kind of tool like test rail or Q test. These are the tool of test case management. We do all the process whatever we are saying under a tool also. So that is basically in that particular tool also, basically if your test case is not approved, you can't execute it. But is approval process, reviewing process clear to everyone? I'll explain it with a diagram also one more time, but yeah, on a higher level, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Cool, it's a simple process. Okay. Okay. When we write the test case, you got the answer, right? When we write the test case, basically, whenever requirement comes, you derive scenarios and you write the test case. Whenever developer is basically doing development of new feature, you will be parallelly working on the test case. When they are developing the feature, you will be developing the test case. For an example, they are adding more feature in a single module, like basically updating any kind of feature, you will be updating your test case to acquire those changes basically, right? You, that is needed. If they are doing some sort of changes in feature, you have to do some sort of changes in your test case also. And if they are removing any feature, you have to remove that particular part from your test case, or else test will fail basically. Correct? Got it?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Why we write the test case, we already get the answer, but let's go through it one more time to have a better test coverage. Basically, if you want to cover everything, you need to document test case so that you can get it reviewed and make sure everything is covered. To have consistency in test case, even though you are trying to test the same feature after 8 months, if you have documentation, your testing will be consistent. So depend upon the process rather than the person. You already know. Yeah, obviously, if a person has the knowledge and he leaves the job, basically he switched to another company, the knowledge will go with that particular person. So we don't want that. That's why we want to depend upon the process, the document, to avoid training new people again and again. This is new to you. So basically, what happens, right? You will go and you will try to do a try. You will try to test. You will try to understand the application. No, so they will first may ask you to execute the test case. The basic start of understanding the feature is by executing the test case. If you go and execute the test case, all automatically you will get to understand the feature also. Automatically you get to understand the software also. So if you have the test case, you just give the software, you just give the software to the person, you just give the test case to the person, he or she will execute and get the understanding of the feature. So basic idea is that we can avoid somewhere the feature knowledge transfer or product knowledge transfer by just giving them the test case and ask him to execute the test case. So this is also helpful in that way. So test case is the only document which acts as a proof to the customer manager development team that we have done, we have got a better test coverage, we have done a good level of testing. Ab dekho, if you are not documenting anything, right, and someone asks what all things you have tested, you can name the feature, you can't tell each and every scenario then and there, right? Over a call, if they ask, you can't basically tell all the scenarios. 100, if you have derived 100 scenarios and tested on a particular feature, you can't tell all 100 scenarios. So instead of that, if you just document it and try to just give the document itself to them on or a higher level scenario to them, so they will basically read it out and get to understand what is the level of testing you have done, basically, right? So the test case is the document which acts as a proof from your side to the customer and manager or development team on whoever wants to know that what is the level of your testing. You can just pass on the test case. It is also a deliverable. When you deliver the software, you also deliver your some of your documents. So test case is one of that document which you use to deliver to the customer, so that customer get to understand what is exactly you have tested. Okay. So test case acts as a base document of writing the automation script. Your test case is only like basically your test case is being referred by the automation engineers in order to do the automation. They will not derive and they will not derive separate scenarios. They will just try to accommodate whatever scenarios you have done. So sir, what is the then the question is that what is the need of doing automation? It is already manually tested, right? So why exactly they have to write the automation script? That's the question. When I say that the same scenario is being executed by automation script and with the help of automation, so why is there a need of automation if it is already tested, if it is already manually tested? Any answers? बताओ कि अगर सेम सिनेरियो ही मैनुअल टेस्टिंग से हुआ है, तो ऑटोमेशन सेम सिनेरियो से करने का क्या मतलब होता है? सोचो.
Not needed.
नॉट नीडेड. ओके. अब देखो, तुम्हारा फीचर जो है ना, वो डे बाय डे क्या होता है, बड़ा होता जाता है. ठीक है. तुम्हारा टीम का साइज होगा लगभग 8 या 7. ठीक है. इसके हिसाब से बेसिक आइडिया क्या है, तुम क्या करोगे, तुम एक टाइम पे एक या दो फीचर ही टेस्ट कर सकते हो इस टीम साइज के हिसाब से. लेकिन देखो, पहले ए और बी बनेगा सॉफ्टवेयर में. ए टू जेड रिक्वायरमेंट है, पहले ए और बी डेवलपर ने डेवलप की और दे दी तुमको. ठीक है. एंड यू हैव टेस्टेड ए एंड बी मैनुअली. Then more feature came into the picture, right? More feature came into the picture. E, F, Z, H, I, J, somewhere like somewhere around M. So this is a good amount of feature to be tested with an aspect of manual testing by a team of 7, because every time new build come, you will have to do some sort of regression testing on all the features and whatever, right, regions or regions which is impacted. And sometime what happens, we need to make sure that everything is working fine, तो हमको पूरी टेस्टिंग करनी पड़ती है, पूरी फीचर की टेस्टिंग करनी पड़ती है। तो अगर हम लोग 7 लोगों की टीम है, तो कितने बार हम लोग बार बार हम लोग पूरी पूरी फीचर को टेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, और कितना टाइम इन्वेस्ट हो जाएगा उसमें, समझ रहे हो? If new feature came in, that is, there is a possibility of getting old feature impacted. So how much time you want to invest again and again doing the same testing as a manual tester on the same feature, just to make sure that it is not breaking. So here the automation testing came to an action. So every time you try to do the regression testing, you just do what, you just try to execute the same same test case, automation test case, which they have done in manual, to make sure that it is not breaking due to the introduction of new feature. So instead of investing time of doing regression testing on whole feature again and again, we just execute the test case, automation test case, and then make sure that it is working fine. The time invested in doing manual testing is way more higher than the time time needed to complete the test from the machine or the script. So पूरे फीचर की टेस्ट करनी है तो वो एक दिन में कर लेगा, कोई एक पर्सन ही एग्जीक्यूट करेगा तो एक दिन में कर लेगा। बट अगर पूरा पूरा फीचर के दोबारा टेस्टिंग करनी, मैनुअल टेस्टिंग करनी है विथ ऑल द टेस्ट केस, तो होल टीम नीड्स टू इन्वेस्ट टाइम ऑन देयर, एंड ऑल्सो इट विल टेक मोर देन 2 or 3 days, समझ रहे हो, और अ वीक। Getting my point? So that's why automation testing is needed. समझ रहे हो?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. If you have written the test case, then the execution happens in a very organized way. This is very like important thing to know. अब देखो, जब भी टेस्ट केस तुम लिखते हो ना, यू ऑल्सो प्रायोरिटाइज इट। जब इनिशियली मैं बता रहा था इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग में भी इसका एग्जांपल दिया था कि पहले इनबॉक्स टेस्ट करोगे कि पहले सेंड आइटम टेस्ट करोगे कंपोज से इंटीग्रेशन टेस्टिंग में। बहुत से लोगों ने बोला था सर इनबॉक्स कर लेंगे, फिर मैंने बताया था नहीं नहीं, पहले सेंड आइटम करेंगे, क्योंकि यू आर एट द फर्स्ट लॉग इन आई डी, एंड इफ यू टेस्ट द इनबॉक्स फर्स्ट, यू देयर विल बी एन एडिशनल स्टेप ऑफ लॉगिंग इन एंड लॉग इन आउट। करेक्ट? याद है सबको? यस, नो, भूल गए? रिकॉर्डिंग देखना। सो द बेसिक आइडिया इज दैट if you are writing the test case, you are also prioritizing your steps, you are also prioritizing your scenarios. This one needs to be tested first, this one needs to be tested after that, right? So when you prioritize this way, basically what happens, basically the number of steps you want, you basically have in your test case will be minimal. You will not end up having the repeated scenario testing and have an additional steps in your test case. So this will be reduced if you basically document it. If you on a higher level you have every scenario in your mind, you will not be able to prioritize it until you document it, right? So the cutting of the additional steps will be there basically, okay, if you document it. If you have documented the scenario, then you don't have to remember the scenarios, obviously. Even though after like 10 years you have to do the testing, you'll do the testing on the same flow, on the same level. Okay, now I do have one more topic for today. We'll start it today, we'll not end it today, but definitely we'll start it. Now the thing is that if I ask one simple question to you guys, you are deriving scenarios, right? For all the requirement, you guys are deriving scenarios, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if interviewer asks you, how can you make sure you have covered all the possible scenarios? What will be your answers? If interviewer asks you that, how will you make sure that you have covered everything? What will be your answer? At least the all the basic scenarios is being covered.
So by testing all the test cases, all the possibilities.
So how will you make sure you are done with the possibility? Yeah, this is the limit. I have completed every possible scenarios. Now this can be documented as a test case. when
by
you're deriving
matching
scenarios.
by
Yeah.
matching the requirements with my scenarios.
Yeah, but for an example, if I'm saying that character is acceptable, right? 50 characters is acceptable. Okay, up till 50 characters is acceptable. Now you are deriving scenario. I will check with alphabet, I will check with number, I will check with more than 50, I'll check with less than 50, I'll check with zero, I will check with alphanumeric, I will check with emoji, I'll check so many things we can think of, right? If it is saying character includes everything which is there in your keyboard. So many
Yes, sir.
things you can thought of, and you can derive scenarios like a lot. If you're a good level of tester, you can have a great mindset, and you can derive hundreds of scenario from here. So basic idea is that wherein you are in the state in your mind that I am now done, wherein you can say that I am now done with deriving the scenarios. This number of scenarios is enough to test this functionality, or this is the basic scenarios. I'm done with deriving all the basic scenarios. If this is covered, then basically basic things will be covered. That's the question. When you will make sure that, yeah, I'm done with this number of scenarios for testing of this requirement, this number of scenarios is enough. How will you make sure? Obviously we can't, right? we
Yes,
can't say
sir.
that we can't say that we have derived all number of scenarios. There will be a basically possibilities of having more scenarios, but we can't make sure that we have covered all the scenarios, right? But we can make sure we have covered all the basic scenarios which is needed in order to test it. How? Basically with the help of test case design technique. So what is test case design technique? This technique gives you some concepts so that you can derive scenarios, and you can make sure all the basic scenarios are being covered. Okay, it is not saying you have with the help of this you will cover all the scenarios, but it is saying basic level you will cover. Okay, so basic idea is that in this particular thing, in this particular test case design thing, there are there are three concepts actually. First one is error guessing, second one is boundary value analysis, and third one is equivalence partitioning. Okay, so equivalence partitioning has two different persons. First person is Pressman and second one is Practice. These are two like babas and all who at their time who will give the concept. So basic idea is that these three concepts are there which helps you to derive scenario, at least the basic one, and try to make sure that you are covering all the basic scenarios, and you can be sure that, yeah, nothing is missing, right? And these two babas gives concept on the basis of this equivalence partitioning. Dressman says a concept, and Practice is basically enhancing that particular concept, just giving an update to it. Okay, so let's understand one by one. The very first one is error guessing. So error guessing is something which you guys are doing right away. If I say that and there is a uh, image attachment thing wherein you can attach PDF and JPG format. So if I ask you to derive scenarios, can you guys derive scenarios? There is an image attachment in the chat, and therein wherein you can just attach JPG and PNG. Can you derive scenarios for this functionality? How will you test it?
By uploading other formats.
Other formats like
PDF or anything like other formats.
you try to upload PDF, you try to
Yes,
upload
sir.
a different one, right? So what you
Yes,
are
sir.
exactly doing, you are guessing maximum possible errors. This approach what you are applying by yourself, right? From your end, this is called error guessing. Error guessing is nothing but guessing all the possible error based on your requirement, your intuition and your experience. अब देखो, रिक्वायरमेंट के बेसिस पे तुमने ना बोला कि पीडीएफ अटैच करके देखेंगे तो एरर आना चाहिए, करेक्ट? करेक्ट, रिक्वायरमेंट के
Yes, sir.
बेसिस पे बोला, और
Yes, yes.
तुम्हारा इंट्यूशन था, ठीक है, ओके, आई फील लाइक दिस विल गिव एन एरर, करेक्ट? दिस इज योर इंट्यूशन, सिक्स सेंस होता है ना, कि हम बोलते हैं कि नहीं ये होगा, शायद ये मेरे को लग रहा है कि होगा. सो based on that kind of intuition, based on the requirement and based on your experience, you have tested a lot number of attachment thing, so you know that how to handle this attachment thing. Okay, if there is a JPG and PNG format also, what is the limit of that? What is the size of that particular file? What should be the size? Is it like, even though it is accepting that JPG, can it accept more than 250 MBs? This could be a one more scenario, correct? So based on your experience also, you can basically derive this kind of scenario, basically guess. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so this is error guessing. Whatever you are doing right away, see, till date, you guys are following up error guessing technique. But there is one more. Let's go to the third one. Third one is basically boundary value analysis. This one is most accurate, most applicable, but only applicable in the requirement which has ranges. Means range, कभी कभी ऐसी components आते हैं ना, wherein you have the range for the requirement. You can only enter age up to 18 to 45. This is the valid data. तो ये एक range है. 18 is the lower value, 45 is the higher value, correct? And there is a ATM machine. You can only enter amount up to 100 to 10,000. Now this is a lower range and this is the higher range. 100 is the lower range, 1,000 is the higher range. In between this, it is a valid set of data. This is the requirement. In between whatever data you apply, it is a valid set. Out of this, it's an invalid set, correct? Yes, no, anything?
Yes, sir.
So basic idea is that you can see this requirement, right? And basic idea is that the range is saying that 100 to 5,000, if you are following boundary value analysis is saying, if you follow BVA, boundary value analysis, we can check for boundary values, exact boundary value, lower value and upper value, and make sure that it is you are covering all the scenarios from the boundary values. Means you can check for A, the 100, you can check for A minus 1, 99, you can check for A plus 1, 101, you can check for B, 5,000, you can check for B minus 1, basically 4,999, and B plus 1, 5,001. Getting my point? So this way you will cover everything. How? If you are randomly deriving scenarios and you are saying that less than 100 could be anything, right? You can take 85. But what if developer has done the mistake while coding? They are setting if the value is less than greater than and equal to 100, it is a valid and accepted. Basically, what if they have written it 90 in place of 100? If you are testing with 85, you will not able to test this particular, you will not be able to catch this particular bug, correct? But definitely if you are entering 199, you will be able to catch this bug, correct? 99 should not be accepted according to the requirement, but if you are testing with 85, you will not catch it. But if you basically try to test with 99, you will catch it, isn't it? Should I write the requirement here?
Yes, sir.
Requirement is 100 to 5,000 valid. Okay, you derive scenarios, test you derive scenarios, test with less than 100. Now it could be anything. You picked 85. Okay, you picked 85 less than 100. Okay, now when developer develops this particular kind of functionality, they used to use relational operator like less than or greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to kind of thing in coding part, right? So if they have coded in this way, if the value the user entered is greater than and equal to 100, or the value user entered is less than, or it should be and the value entered by the user is less than and equal to 5,000, then basically the value should be accepted as it is a valid value, or else value should be rejected and throw an error. So if you're testing with 85 and they have done the mistake here by just writing 90, will you be able to catch this bug? Because 90 should be thrown an error, correct? And you are testing with 85, and according to this coding, 85 will not get accepted. It will throw an error only, but you will not be able to catch this bug that 90 is also getting accepted. Getting my point? Or 91 is getting accepted, 95 is getting accepted. Hello?
Yes, sir. Now audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a power cut from my end. But you understood my point, what I'm trying to say. My screen is sharing, right?
Yes, sir. Please repeat the last point.
Okay, cool. So the thing is that if you have picked up a value of 85 right now, assume the scenario, you have picked 85. Okay, you are entering in that particular text field. 85 is giving an error according to this coding, right? Getting my point? If
Yes,
you
sir.
in the same field, if you will put 95, that will get accepted because it
Yes,
is
sir.
saying it should be greater than
Greater than 90.
90, right? It will get accepted, but according to requirement, what should happen? Only 100 or greater than 100 should get accepted, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So the
sir.
thing is that if you are testing way more far than the boundary value, then you might get the closer one. You might not get the closer one. You might miss this kind of bugs, which is close to the boundary value. Getting my point? Like 95, 98, 97. If those values has the bug, you will not be able to catch it. Getting my point? That's why it is designed in this way, just below and above the boundary value, so that you can catch each and everything from there. Getting my point? Yes, no, anything?
No, sir.
Having said the same point, right? If you're testing, you got this one, right? If
Yes.
you are putting 85, it will get rejected, and you will think that it is working fine, correct?
Sir, if the requirement is from 100, then we should not we take the value as greater than equal to 100?
That's the mistake by developer. That's what I'm saying, right? If
Oh, okay.
developer has done this mistake, and
Yes,
you
sir.
have to catch this defect, and if you're testing with 85 data, 85 while putting 85, then basically you will not be able to catch this bug, right?
Yes, sir.
Not be able to catch this bug, right? Everyone is getting my point. बाकी सबको समझ में आ रहा है? बोलो नहीं आ रहा है तो भाई. तो बेसिक आइडिया इज दैट अगर तुम 85 से टेस्ट करोगे तुमको ये बग नहीं मिलेगा. तुमको ये बग को कैच करने के लिए बाउंड से लग के टेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, लाइक a -1 a+1. इफ यू आर बेसिकली जस्ट being beside the boundary value and testing, the chances of catching a bug will be high rather than going far from the boundary value. That's why the functionality is being designed in this way. अभी यहाँ पर ये चीज 100 की जगह 99 भी होगी तो you will catch this bug. 98 भी होगी, you will catch this bug. 97 भी होगी, you will catch this bug with the help of this concept, because you are testing with what? You are testing with 100, 99, 101. Not only this kind of mistake they will do, sometimes they will do this kind of mistake also. They will put reverse of this, they'll put reverse of this, or they will forgot to put equal to in one place. So developer do these kind of mistakes in the relational operator, and that will going to be end up in a bug, right? So to catch these all type of scenarios, you have to do what? You have to do this: test with a, test with a-1, test with a+1, and definitely you'll catch everything. Test with b-1, b+1. अगर यहाँ पर equals to भूल जाता है वो, exactly 5000 पे नहीं काम करेगा, correct? Exactly 5000, if you are entering the data, it will not accept it, but it should be accepted, correct? So that will be covered by b, isn't it? Getting
Yes,
my
sir.
point? Cool. So yeah, that is there. ये समझ में आ गया बाउंड्री वैल्यू एनालिसिस और एरर गेसिंग सबको?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
सबको अच्छे से समझ में आ गया? try to derive scenarios. अब कोई भी example ले लो कहीं का भी, like assume a software wherein which have the let me give you assignment itself, right? For an example, there is a functionality wherein you can enter your age, and age limit is basically 18 to 45. What should be the scenarios according to boundary value analysis?
Below 18 and above 60.
What below 18, above 45?
17
Boundaries.
17, yes, and
and 61
and
and 60.
नहीं मैंने बोला 45 to 18 to 45. What should be the scenario? Taking A as a 18, B as a 45. लोअर वैल्यू को A ले लो, हायर वैल्यू को 45 ले लो. क्या बोल रहा है कॉन्सेप्ट? A means you will test with 18, A minus 1 you will test with 17, A plus 1 you will test with 19, correct? B 45, B minus 1 44, B plus 1 46.
46.
Testing complete. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
सबको
sir.
समझ में आ गया ना? ऐसे सिनेरियो डिराइव करना, ये बहुत लाइक लिटरली इन सारी टेक्निक्स में से सबसे ज्यादा काम यही आती है, लेकिन बस ये सिर्फ रेंज में काम करती है. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है, जब भी कोई रेंज आएगा तभी आप अप्लाई कर सकते हो इसको. ठीक है, गॉट इट?
Yes, sir.
Cool. I'm facing
Yes,
some sort of network issue, तो अभी इतना ही रखते हैं आज. Anyways, like आज के लिए इतना काफी है, I guess. तो कल हम लोग ये दो टेक्निक पढ़ेंगे एंड टेस्ट केस का फॉर्मेट पढ़ेंगे. टेस्ट केस विल गेट कंप्लीटेड टुमारो एंड देन विल स्टार्ट एसडीएलसी. ठीक है, सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट टेक्निक. दैट वुड बी फुल्ली थ्योरी. अब इसके बाद जो चलेगा ना टेस्ट केस के बाद, दैट विल बी ऑल थ्योरी एंड कॉन्सेप्चुअल थिंग्स. फुल थ्योरी एंड कॉन्सेप्चुअल थिंग्स. तो बेसिकली थोड़ा सा ज्यादा टाइम लगेगा, बट वर्बली ज्यादा होगी क्लास. ठीक है,
Sir, when we will learn to write test scripts?
टेस्ट स्क्रिप्ट लाइक ऑटोमेशन स्क्रिप्ट.
Yes, sir.
ऑटोमेशन क्लास में होगा भाई वो. तो मैं तुमको टेस्ट केस लिखना सिखाऊंगा, ऑटोमेशन
Sir,
स्क्रिप्ट में.
sir, from today we started automation.
नो नो, ऑटोमेशन अभी टाइम है. You will give after your manual get completed and project class will get completed. Getting my point? तो
Yes,
पहले
sir.
मैनुअल कंप्लीट होगा. फर्स्ट यू, if you want to understand in this way, first we are training you to be a manual tester. If you get the basic understanding, because automation testing anyways you can't do anything if you don't know what is testing, how testing is done, what are the processes. ठीक है,
Yes, sir.
so basically first understand this, get the project knowledge and then move on to basically automation. फिर वो कोर जावा कंप्लीट होने के बाद ही काम आता है. कोर जावा आप लोगों का कंप्लीट नहीं होगा.
Nice.
हाँ, तो बेसिकली अभी तो ऑटोमेशन स्टार्ट करने में कोई मतलब भी नहीं, until unless core Java get completed. ठीक है,
Yes, sir.
cool.
सर
Okay,
मैनुअल
then.
टेस्टिंग का रिवीजन कब होगा?
Revision यार, I can give you a revision class, but whole manual testing can't be revised. Obviously, बहुत सारे concept हैं. So I would recommend you guys to go through it, segregate your doubts, and then we'll connect, and then we'll sort it out. ठीक है. Last की classes में we'll get go through few classes for like doubt clarification and whatever concept you want me to revise, but it should not be like everything more you want me to revise. Okay,
यस सर.
okay then, see you guys tomorrow.